Welcome to the Lodge. You've accessed
the Lodgecast experience.
Warning, warning, dangerous spoilers ahead. Enjoy.
Yeah, we are in the place to be.
Welcome one and all, old and young, to another edition of the Lodgecast. We are in the Prius, as always, Brother Bishke.
Hello!
Brother Lucas.
Good evening.
And tonight, he's been here before, you know him, you love him, Brother Nathan.
Hey, this is my first time in the Prius, actually.
Oh, wow.
It's hot as hell right now. You guys have gone longer than this?
This ain't First Reformed, man. First Reformed was bad.
I swear, Bishke's got a methane tank.
We were
He's
dripping.
leaking.
We were soaking.
We are here in Highland Park, about to see the film Upgrade.
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 And this is going to be the first time for all of you gentlemen going to the Highland 3, the illustrious.
I got a glimpse of it, and I really love it already.
Yeah, it looks
It is.
retro.
Yeah, it's got a new
fabulous.
Beverly vibe for sure.
Yeah,
it's like
it's
feels
straight
like
out
the
of the
70s.
Yeah.
Predates our birth.
I'm going to be going to a lot of movies here, I
It's
think.
untouched by the modern conveniences of leather recliners that they add to get you out of your living room.
And today is $6 Tuesday, which means you might get a more festive, lively crowd.
That's why
It
we're
might
here.
Might not come on
That's
another
why
night.
we're here.
$5 fiesta.
My brethren and I would usually go to Fast and Furious movies here, movies where you don't really need a lot of the dialogue to follow, because sometimes it gets a little rowdy. Reminiscing about this theater, the lodge mistress and I saw the movie Unborn here.
Unborn.
Don't know it.
It's a forgettable pregnancy horror movie. I think the demon's name is Jumby, which I thought was a bad miscalculation if we're supposed to be scared. But we were watching it. We were the only ones in the theater, and half of the theater there was just a curtain that behind it was just like an open construction site. And
What?
I looked down, and a trio of rats scurried by.
Okay, we're going in.
This sounds like a haunted movie
This
theater.
was about 9 years ago,
Okay.
and I just gently lifted her legs and kind of crossed them over mine like I was being romantic, but which I was, but it was a load-bearing romance.
It was for her safety.
Yeah. Nathan has seen it already.
Yeah, I went to the premiere, guys.
You went to the premiere.
VIP.
A day the day just before it came out. So, I mean, I have speculation and predictions of what you guys might react. I think it's going to go either way. I don't want to taint any viewing.
I want you to.
It's,
you can write it down or write it on your phone or something, but you should predict each of our bone counts, and we
Okay.
can compare and
I can do
contrast.
that, yeah.
We don't want you to taint our viewing experience. All that I know about this is the trailer, and I thought it looked kind of dumb, but maybe fun. It looked kind of like Hardcore Henry. Is that what that was? That first-person
Which is becoming a genre.
action movie.
Yeah, I thought it looked like they took the scene out of The Matrix where you learn kung fu, and they were like, let's just use that.
Yeah.
But what's odd though for me, because based off the trailer, is the only thing I know of it, is why would you do this with like a bearded strong guy as opposed to like a woman in a wheelchair? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you're gonna take that idea right off the bat, it should not be like a tough, strong MMA fighter bearded dude, because it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I've seen those guys like do things, but if it was like, I don't know, Susan Sarandon or something.
Yes.
Like, then I would be like,
Queen.
this is awesome.
Yes,
At her age right now?
I don't-
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't even know that much about it. I think I saw the trailer on YouTube a long time ago. I don't remember it, so I have nothing to say.
That's great. This and
But I can't wait to see it.
An Action Point. You were just going in. Like, I'm so jealous. Like, I want to
What
step.
do you read on Ain't Cool News? Like,
No,
okay.
I just shit finds your eyes and
No,
your
I know.
ears. You know, like I
We're
wish,
saturated. We're oversaturated. I already had Hereditary ruined for me, so yeah.
Yeah, it's dangerous out there. But we're relatively unblemished going into this, and we're just going to see what happens. I'm excited.
In the woods. Your babes in the woods.
We're about to get upgraded, and we're going to be looking at Nathan because he knows what's coming. He's upgraded into the future.
I'm in the pipeline, baby.
He's in the pipeline.
I want to upgrade on the seats though. At the premiere, we were front row left. It was good for the Q&A.
We'll be second row center here.
And I got some premiere anecdotes I can go over.
Okay.
But we'll do that after, maybe.
That sounds good. Well, we're gonna smoke some steezy. We're gonna go get some pizza.
Get some upgraded.
And then we're gonna get upgraded. Wish us luck.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. See you on the other side, y'all. Lodgecast program back online. Viewing experience complete. We experienced Upgrade at the Highland 3 Theater. Strangely sparsely attended. I built
On $6 Tuesday.
It was. You could like jack off if you wanted to, and probably not get noticed.
somebody probably was.
Sounds like 8 people, including us.
I had it on good authority from Brother Pappin that last night at this very theater it was packed to the gills, and it wasn't even $6 last night. Anyway. So I'm sorry if I built this place up, but I hope you guys at least enjoyed the retro decor and the feel of it.
It was ramshackle.
I'll be back
It
here.
felt like at one point Nathan and I looked at each other because we heard just like out of nowhere, like an hour into the movie, just like disembodied voices coming from like a hallway, which we assumed was like a VIP lounge area that just
New York
popped up.
bar time.
It just sounded like a bar all of a sudden.
Dishes.
Yeah.
The soundproofing is not the best. Anyway, let's get into it because we did see a movie and it's called Upgrade, and I want to know the synopsis.
From Rotten Tomatoes. After his wife is killed during a brutal mugging that also leaves him paralyzed, Gray Trace, Logan Marshall-Green, is approached by a billionaire inventor with an experimental cure that will upgrade his body. The cure, an artificial intelligence implant called STEM, gives Gray physical abilities beyond anything experienced and the ability to relentlessly claim vengeance against those who murdered his wife and left him for dead.
There it is.
Nice.
Red with true robotic flair.
There you go.
I think the napkin pitch for this movie is Limitless meets RoboCop at a dive bar and goes in the bathroom and fucks. With
very romantic.
With a little dusting of Terminator.
It's like the Terminator, except when Arnold comes back in time, he tells John Connor, like, we got to find the hacker to, like, make so I can, like, know what it's like to cry. I need to cry, John. You don't know what it's like not being able to cry when everyone else is crying all around you.
Yeah. There was definitely some Terminator and some T-1000 mixed in. This is like a smorgasbord of spot the sci-fi action influence.
Yeah, it's a lot of tech.
Yeah.
We got drones,
drowning in it. We're swimming in it. We're swimming in it.
It's a far-flung
and let me
future.
let me just go on record saying that I must have only seen the trailer once, and when I did, I was not paying attention because I was under the impression it was a contemporary movie with this experimental, not too distant future nanotechnology. And they open the movie like that. Like the guy's in a garage drinking a beer, working on an old like Mustang or T-Bird or something.
Ease us in.
And then he steps out into the Apple iPhone world of the future, and I just fucking groaned. Like that was the moment I checked out. That was like the very moment I checked out because I'm like, fuck it. Like who gives a fuck if it's in the future then? Like how is this special? How is this different? They got self-driving cars.
They still didn't have this nanotech.
I know, right? Like that made any sense at all? And I'm thinking, like, oh man, it's one of these jack-off circle jerk movies, and yeah, I tuned out after that.
You couldn't just let you couldn't just let the override happen and enjoy the tasty mid to low budget future visuals.
This movie has its head so far up its own
wow.
ass. Dude.
Wow.
Lucas is on
downgraded.
fire.
Look, when you're a director, you know, there's a few things you got to do. You got to cast it right, You know, you got to build a world that's somewhat believable, even if it is fantasy or science fiction or not too distant future. And they did that well. The production design is great. It's all great. However, there's one other real important thing. It's called tone, as well as pace. And when you got a movie called Upgrade about a bearded dude who like goes from being, you know, Jake Sully to fucking a Na'vi, you know, Avatar. Like, the tone of that is B-movie, Wallace Beery, like, wrestling picture. What the fuck more do you need? What I got was a Barton Fink-defied fucking actor's piece where every goddamn fucking scene is an audition scene. And I'm thinking, what fucking movie are we in? Is this Terms of Endearment? Like, is this some fucking Regarding Henry shit?
Cool that boy down. We gotta dig into this.
Painful, tedious.
Okay.
Gotta pour a bucket of ice in your lap here.
Tedious.
I upgraded with some Steves beforehand, and I was just washing around in the tech.
Yeah.
The drones and the surveillance.
I thought it looked great.
And for its budget, it's got a lot of ambition. I think it's kind of all over the place in terms of the rules that are going on with this tech stuff, because it's just, we're dealing with AI. We got everything. It's just throwing everything at you in terms of, you know, the AI's taking control of his mind, different things like that. And
as a wash in influences, as it obviously is, it must be stated, it's not a sequel, it's not a reboot, it's not a remake.
But it's table dressing. It's fucking table setting for like every goddamn movie they're gonna make after this.
All I'm saying is the bar is at a place where we need to at least give some lip service and credence to not being a fucking sequel or remake or a reboot.
But if it feels like a remake, reboot, or sequel that I like you know, to movies that you already mentioned.
Let's talk about that, Nathan.
I mean, it doesn't show me anything new or
Nathan,
different.
this is your second time seeing this film. What's going through your mind when you're hearing these explosive comments from Brother Lucas?
Well, I think, take a step back just for a second. I mean, one thing that I had the first go around is that I am in a room full of like non-stop. I mean, I'm full of the crew, the production crew.
You went to the premiere.
I went to the premiere.
So they were really happy.
We did not get the benefit of a full house tonight, or almost anybody else.
Nobody was there,
other than us, kind of creaking a little bit. But it was a lot of fun. The very first go around with an audience, and we're talking about some massive, violent moments, and those punctuated moments are
few and far between. Few and far between.
But that is the tone.
Sips of ice water in a desert, in a dry desert.
The tone is a grindhouse. I mean, I thought it was similar. People mentioned Hardcore Henry and some of these other ones that have that wish fulfillment of going through a violent video game. I mean, this is kind of the similar. This is what Upgrade is.
But between the levels, there's a lot of buffering. There's a lot of buffering between levels of the
But it's a murder. It's a murder revenge plot.
It's a fucking melodrama. It's a circle jerk jack off melodrama. No one gives a shit about.
We know right where he's going to be at the end, and
it's got a fun.
We saw the ending coming a mile away, like a country mile. Like from the fucking opening scene, we saw it coming a mile away.
Here's the thing.
Oh my god.
You didn't have any fun. Didn't have any fun at all.
No.
It does.
No, I don't ever want to see it again. I'll watch Crank 2 again before I watch that shit again.
I will
comparable.
hand it to Lucas. It could have used a pare down and another pass to look at what is it about this tale that people really care about and want to see? The types of people who are going to this, looking for action, looking for sci-fi chills and thrills.
If you switched all the crying scenes with action scenes and all the action scenes with crying scenes, then you might have something.
That is an astute, brilliant observation. But we have what we have, and there may have been, because of budget constraints or whatnot, they had to pad it out with story elements that we don't really care about, namely his relationship with his mother, who is kind of standing in the doorway.
His own shucks mother.
Scrubbing his body, like the shoe leather of that. Like,
God bless her heart.
Like, we're going to give you a taste of what the 3 months have been like as a quadriplegic.
Sure.
We're not going to gloss over this, because in Hollywood movies, they just gloss over this, but no. Like, we're going to show you what it's like for Stallone to wake up from cryogenic prison. We're going to let you live with that for a while.
Okay, we got to put a little override on Lucas just for a little bit so we can get some of this plot out. But there's also another plot with Detective Cortez, which is cute. Cerebral Cortez.
The sunken place nanny from Get Out, who was good in that movie, in that role, but oh my god,
is she way out of her element in this movie?
She's all alone too. Like she
all
alone.
So lightweight. Like she is like getting literally anyone else.
It's not about her performance. The role doesn't matter. It's filler.
It's not even really about her.
Dude.
Yeah.
The performances overall, I thought were very strange. The first thing I did when my phone came back on was I wanted to know what type of accent the lead actor was choking down.
Gray Trace. How's that for a name?
I think he's British.
His performance is so strange. The way he delivers his lines, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but if you put your headphones on and are talking into a mic and there's a delay, like a slight delay, you start to sound like
kind of listening to himself.
This, like you can't fully speak.
There was a couple of scenes
fluently.
where I thought he put on like a country western
It's
accent.
very
He was kind of like, "How you
very
doing,
strange.
partner?"
And he's
I'm gonna
different.
take you in
He's
the back.
different in every scene, and I tend to think that his audition scene was something where he was yelling, because when he's yelling and he's like making the movements, that's fine, I thought. Yeah. But when he is trying to be tender or he's trying to just convey some techno jargon, oh my God.
I mean, I think he was cast because he looks like Tom Hardy, right? I mean,
Well,
The man is
Doesn't he
from
have this
South
floating
Carolina, by the way.
okay.
Really? I thought he was
So-
from England, because you're right, Matt. He did sound like a
Something's
better
up.
version of Tom Hardy.
But yeah,
there's a southern
and that's
vibe
that's
on there.
also a kind of an issue with this movie is I spent the whole movie recasting, like upgrading the cast, if you will.
Upgrading.
The main guy
Who you
is
got?
is like Tom Hardy-esque, you know, and Tom Hardy would have been much more interesting in the role.
Well, he's got Venom, which is like Upgrade, except instead of
It looks
technology, it's like aliens. So
looks
there
like
you
the
go.
same
There-
movie.
There you go.
Posters,
That's a
too.
double bill
and
for
then
the future.
there's
Jekyll and Hyde characters.
there's this Jared Leto Blade Runner 2049 type tech
I was
god.
thinking like young Bowie, Crispin
yeah.
Glover,
Who this
He's like a
act-
dead giveaway,
this
right?
actor's-
Doctor Frankenstein.
This actor's
yeah.
got the look, but he is like
He's a
not.
cartoon.
Yeah,
He's
Oh,
not
he's out of his
selling it.
water.
He's like a Toronto, Ontario,
He's like a-
emo
no.
kid.
He's like low budget Dane DeHaan. Like it's.
Reminded me of like a bad
quite sure what
vampire,
they're doing.
yeah, from like a bad vampire movie, like Daybreakers or whatever.
And then the main bad guy Fisk is not intimidating at
yeah.
all. They're definitely.
Poor man's Dan Stevens
He's
or
like,
Ryan
Jackie-
Gosling.
Wait, I
He's like
see
he's
him.
like a
He's
hillbilly
like Jackie Earl
incel.
Haley.
He looks like Jackie Earl Haley.
he looks like-
I think I've seen him in something. Anyway,
He
He
should
looks like he'd
play-
be marching in Charlottesville, being like, "I will not be upgraded."
That's what he looks
Jiminy Cricket
exactly
on
like
Broadway.
one of those Tiki Torch guys.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
not him. It
cast
can't
him
An
be.
for his
alt-writer.
eyes,
He
I
looks like an alt-writer.
But anyway, with all this being said, I really admired the chutzpah of much of this movie. Like,
so misguided, so misinformed. Like, oh
I
my
think
God.
the salad dragon scene comes right when he first starts like experiencing his robotic upgrade.
When STEM
Yeah.
takes over.
When his robotic limbs take over, there's a computer inside his head, by the way, that talks to him. The other movie I was trying to think of was All of Me, which
all of them.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's a
thought
good one.
that
That's a good one.
there was so many female AI voices going on. I thought it was going to be a female voice, and I was a little
yeah,
disappointed.
like her, but it was
Well, it kind of was androgynous, wasn't it? I mean, he does say
No,
They're-
it's
they're
a
aping Hal.
Jeeves
They-
type.
Yeah, they're aping
It's
HAL.
a Kevin
They
Spacey.
age HAL 9000 from 2001. That's
Uh-huh.
what they're subverting. Like that's what they're calling back to.
So anyway,
And it's a missed opportunity. I agree. It should have been female.
his wife gets killed. We're not going to get into the convoluted murder mystery plot too much, but
It's irrelevant.
it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
All you want to know about is the robotic fighting moves. So he's creeping into this guy's house. He's following these suspects. His onboard computer's helping him, enhance video and find the clues. And the guy comes home and he doesn't know how to fight, so he's getting beat up. And then he's like, "Can you help me, computer STEM?" And he's like, "You have to give me control of your body." And he's like, "You can have it. I authorize." And so then he just kicks the shit out of this guy. And
Well, I think that's a crowd
How do
pleasing
they do
moment.
how do they do the cam? Is it like a snorri cam? Is this like Darren Aronofsky?
There's body harness shots where it's
Okay.
like on
Yeah.
his center of gravity,
It
where
looks
it's moving back and forth.
very-
That's not new, I guess.
But
New
it's
technology.
very interesting the way the camera follows him. It kind of looks like if you apply a warp stabilization filter to footage and it gives you a strange effect that you didn't plan on, but that looks cool. It kind of looks like that, but properly harnessed. And the lead actor, his face and his voice when he's yelling is great, and the kind of the looks he gives are kind of nicely comedic, but still super violent. And then you kind of just think it's John Wick is another movie that is heavily influencing it. So you kind of think he's just going to beat him up. It's a chop-sucky affair. So then the knives come out, literally, and they start having a knife fight. Couple cuts, and then how do we even explain
it's like a curb smile, you know? It's like except instead of putting the teeth on the curb, it's like pulling a butcher knife like back through someone's mouth, essentially.
He puts the knife. He like quasi decapitates this guy, and you don't expect I didn't expect it. It is. It is gory.
It goes one too many
the
levels.
whole meager attendants in the theater just yelled.
Yes.
All of us.
Yeah,
included.
all 8 of us yelled.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great. It promises something that the movie doesn't really deliver on. It promises a bit more of a hardcore, naughty thrill ride than you actually get. Like there's more hyper grotesque violence along the way, but it's very sparsely sprinkled.
Yeah. 3 dudes get killed, or I guess a few more do, but at the end. But
I think this premise would have been like a lot better service if it was contemporary, and the guy using STEM was like a black, victim of police brutality, and then he just goes against the police force, but they've never seen anything like it because he's obviously like blocking bullets in real time and stuff. Give it like some kind of political spin or some kind of a momentum or urgency. Like make us invested, make us care.
Lucas, I love that movie.
But honestly, like this movie's fucking lame. Man.
I wouldn't mind it if it was contemporary,
because think how cool it would be if the cops reacted to that, like in The Matrix, as opposed to like some cop looking up her drone footage and like asking the computer for its probability.
The police procedural stuff was pretty bad.
Are you kidding me?
But to me, there's just the tech. Like we're getting into dipping into too many things, like drones and we got AI over here. We got VR. There's a little Ready Player One action in there with kids hooked up to VR.
The only way to properly do this, and I thought this very early on in the movie, I'm like, why isn't this a TV series with like David Hyde Pierce as the voice?
Yeah, like Knight Rider. Yeah,
sequential
adventures.
Stretch out this world a little bit. Like if you're gonna make this futuristic world with all these like little introductions into these different tech arenas, you can't really do it in a movie. In this movie,
the drone episode,
the sky's the limit.
Yeah,
Well, talk a little bit about the ending. Talk a little bit about his mind breaks. Okay, so his mind breaks and STEM takes over and projects a alternate reality, his heaven where she's alive and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's at the end. It's a bloodbath. You don't know whether he's going to regain control of his mind or not, and the computer basically shuttles the real human into his own mind so he can be with his dead wife and live a fantasy, while the computer, I guess, goes on to take over the world.
STEM's just going to go and through brutality take over the world.
Maybe. I don't.
Maybe
it depends on how much money it makes. But I was actually pretty refreshed at what a bleak ending it was. Like I didn't know that they were going to go full techno bleak.
Yeah, I enjoyed the ending because I knew he was coming back to the maker,
right?
But I didn't quite know that STEM was the mastermind behind the whole thing.
It's one of those situations where there aren't enough characters to even have a mystery, because if they're like, someone hired me, there's only one person that it could be.
Based on how much screen time
there's only one. There's only one other character.
Yeah.
So that's why we're not really belaboring the plot.
Well, I think the director's intent was just to make this real clipped, action adventure film that has, large debt to RoboCop's violence and almost its pace. I mean, and its emotionality. I mean, how deep did RoboCop get? You know what I mean? I think its intent is very clear. And I think, is it any fun? I mean, Lucas says no, but I mean,
no, man,
are you guys in front seat? Are you guys having any fun?
I had some fun. I had some fun times.
Drag.
I never would in a million years think I would say something like this, but it could have learned something from Crank and Crank High Voltage. It's like, that's kind of the movie.
Completely over the top.
Well, just
moves.
Just relentless.
Moves.
Right. It just has a pace to it, and it moves. And I feel like, to go back to what Matt was saying earlier with the first kill, with the knife splitting the guy's mouth open, It's like, all right, if you start there, you're right. You kind of have to progress in a bigger visual, language.
Like Terminator.
Exactly. Give us bigger set pieces, because you know what? Like, I would rather see a fight scene where he's like fighting 5 guys at once, like in the bathroom, than just him fighting, the hillbilly Dan Stevens at the end. Like
it was just kind of like I felt that should have happened much sooner in the plot.
Yeah. And also, by the way, speaking of the plot, so after hillbilly Dan Stevens knows that it's the paralyzed guy, Gray Trace. Like, why doesn't he go to his mom's house or his house to kill him or his mom? Like, why?
That was a huge plot hole.
Why would he just go back to his own house where
and brood?
Yeah, I was like, isn't this supposed to be reversed? And
well, to be fair, if you had a system that could create a cloud in your home and create rain, and then you could just brood in that rain room, I'd hang out there too. I'd just let the cards fall where they may and just hang out in my rain room.
His underground lair is pretty sweet. Like we were saying, the budgets of these films are what, like $5 million, $4 to $5 million.
Yeah, under six.
This movie looks incredible for.
It looks great.
It does. It looks great. No, the art
They're
directing,
souping up
the production design,
self-driving cars.
The VFX was amazing. The technology's finally caught up.
I think his operation scene where they install STEM and they have that honeycomb.
Yeah. Great, and there's some style. There's
it's it's better than that. What was that Andrew Nicole movie, In Time? It was kind of like a better, more polished
Simone Gattaca. There's echoes of a lot of those movies.
So many echoes.
I mean, this is a genre picture, right? I mean, this is what it's trying to do.
It's definitely. It would have been nicer to have a rowdier audience, which is what we were hoping for here tonight. But it's kind of like, I went to There's Something About Mary on its opening weekend.
Oh wow! I remember that.
It was a seismic experience. People were literally rolling in the aisles.
It was the first viral video before the internet even existed. You know what I mean?
I didn't know what the term "rolling in the aisles" meant until I saw like a 60-year-old man rolling around in the aisle.
No, literally, that shit was bananas. I remember it. It was electric.
But then
people were choking on their food.
But then I saw it again 3 weeks after I initially saw it.
Oh, okay.
And it was deadly. There were 4 people in the theater, and it was the worst movie I had ever seen. So, the crowd really does add to it. I don't know what it would do to this.
Would have upgraded it.
It would.
I'm trying to find a natural one.
It would have upgraded it for sure. Lucas, let's get the bad mojo out first. What do you got?
I know I've been.
There's a dive bar in this movie called The Old Bones, by the way.
I did clock that.
How many old bones you
clock that? I
bullet shells all over the bathroom floor.
I'm gonna go easy on it because
you're pulling your punch again.
I'm giving it 2 bones because I'm sure there's some people out there that are gonna appreciate how serious
But this is you. You hate this movie.
But me, it's a waste of time for me. So I mean,
you gotta be honest.
2 Bones is perfectly delightful for some taste, a waste of time for others. Usually uninspired genre films, and this is pretty lazy. It's like, hey, we took the Terminator. If the Terminator wanted to free himself of his mission objective and live his life as a new form of human hybrid or whatever, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's interesting, but just make it entertaining. And so 2 Bones for me. I'm giving it 2.
Wow.
Okay.
Mr. Bishke.
I admire its ambition and throwing in disparate parts from so many different sci-fi movies. I don't think it totally came together into its own world, but I had some fun times, and I did enjoy the ending and its bleakness as well, so I'll give it 2.5 bones.
Brother Nathan, first of all, how are the bone predictions going?
I thought it would fall right in the middle of this 2.5 bone world. Okay. I'm a strong 2.5 bones. I think it tried to do this one action piece where it's a murder revenge plot, with high tech, and I'm sure the director is pleased with what he got. I mean, this is gonna cement him in not only Blumhouse, but I think he's gonna make other genre pictures that aren't horror sequels like Insidious 3.
Yeah, just for the record, he wrote the original Saw.
So I think there's a glimmer of a really strong commercial filmmaker in here. Maybe with a better script and maybe more resources and God knows, more budget, he might get thrown into one of these big, Saddle Blade Runner 3 or whatever the fuck, whatever the fuck's coming down the pike at us, But for me, Two and a Half Bones, a lot of fun. Go see it with a big crew, as loud as it can, as close to the screen as possible, and have an upgraded time.
Yeah.
You know, I was at 3 bones through a lot of the movie. I was vacillating between 2.5, 3, but the 3 would only be for the simple fact that it is ambitious on its budget level, and it is not a sequel, remake, or reboot. And I don't think that's a good enough reason to bump it up to 3. I
feel like we say that all the time.
Well, the simple way to figure if it's 3 is, would you recommend it to anyone in your family, even distant cousins?
Oh, you got genre buddies.
No, family though. Like,
family.
I don't think I can.
Family.
I think I could like recommend sections of it, but I don't think I would recommend the whole movie. So I gotta go 2.5. It's another case of a lot of us ordering the same item on the menu, but that's what tastes right for right now. 2.5 bones, 2.5 old bones.
If you can make that sale, those old bones. New again.
Yeah.
But why didn't the computer just like choose a normal paralyzed person without any like emotional baggage? Like I didn't understand that.
I think it was just opportunity
to break his brain. Was that part of it?
It does feel like opportunity.
I got to think about it a lot.
No, well that's the problem. If you
really
think about it,
that?
if you think about it any more than you do live while you're watching it,
maybe
it's not going to hold up.
No, it doesn't.
None of that's going to hold
like,
up.
It doesn't. But I'm going to be thinking about this for the next month. No, I had a pretty good time.
I think that's what it comes down to. Yeah. I had a pretty good time.
We all got upgraded. We're in June now, folks. We got
Summertime.
we got so much stuff
slamming
coming.
it, slamming that
Friday,
H
we got
down.
like 3 movies.
We
got a lot.
It's insane. It's insane.
We're
So
lodging it.
We are going to lodge hard for you folks.
Hot and sweaty.
We're going to get so hot. We're going to get so sweaty.
You're gonna be in shorts Benny in the summer.
I'm in shorts.
The shorts have already been broken out.
Now.
So keep tuning in. Let us know you're listening. Argue with us on Facebook, Instagram, what have you.
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud comments. Get on there, folks.
Hyperlink.
All you SoundCloud users, jump on there. Let us know, and we will be back before you know it. Love and light to each and every one of you.
Love and light.
Love and light.
Restarting in 5,
4,
3, 2, 1.
Bloomhouse Tilt.
Oh man, it's one of these jack-off circle jerk movies.